Hello, welcome to Victory Garden Vegetables, How to Build a Walk-in Cooler. Um, so we're building a walk-in cooler on this platform here, which I created, out of old pallets that we found. They're everywhere. They're all the same size. Or, they're not all. These ones are all the same size. They're about 4 feet, but the dimensions of this cooler is 8 feet wide by 6 feet deep, unlike the one I had in Nelson, which was actually larger, 10 by 10 on the outside. But we figured we don't need one quite that big here. And so first we just put these concrete blocks in pits just to level it out. It's a little bit sloped, so we wanted to make obviously the tops of the blocks level. So we had to dig in a little bit, and there are 9 of the blocks just to support the 4 corners of each of the pallets, and leveled it out, of course, and it took a moment to figure out. And once we've got this in place, we're putting these down on top, which we found in our basement, and they're just flimsy wood paneling that are actually used for walls, but this isn't the floor. This is just to support a styrofoam floor. It's basically so that the styrofoam these won't dig into the styrofoam, because the styrofoam is quite soft, and I suspect even just these little gaps are going to cause a little bit of digging in. So these will just flatten it out, and then bought these sheets of styrofoam from Home Depot. They say an R value of 20 is ideal for the floor and ceiling and everything. So if every piece has an R value on it. This one's R12, and you just add it to another piece. This one's I think also R12. So there's the R8 here. Yeah, R8. So you add them together and you get R20, and that's the thickness you need for the floor. So it's pretty thick. There's all different grades of styrofoam that you can get, and it's rigid styrofoam. This one's, I don't know, seems mediocre grade, or it's a little better than average, I think. But the stuff that we had in Nelson was pink and I think it's more concentrated R value, so it doesn't have to be as thick. But anyway. So then we lay that out on here, on top of these panels. And on top of those, we're going to be building the walls, which will be made out of these insulated concrete forms, or ICFs. And they're basically just Lego styrofoam blocks that you stack on top of each other. And we bought these at Home Depot too. I think they're kind of a low-end brand because they have holes and they're broken and stuff. But I got a good deal on them, so I can't complain too much. So here is the styrofoam laid down, 2 layers on top of that wood paneling, as you can see. So wood paneling here. Our pallets are actually a little wider than the actual size of the cooler. So we just ended up deciding to put a little step in front, and so this is going to be the base of the cooler. So we've got both layers of styrofoam, and then I've caulked each sheet to the other, because there's a crack here and another crack here. They're in 2-foot lengths, so or 2-foot widths. So I've done a caulking job just to make sure that none of the cool air escapes through the floor, because it's the floor that's the most important part as far as insulating the cooler goes. Now we've put a thin layer of plywood on top of the styrofoam, because we can't just be walking on the styrofoam. It will get crushed by our weight. So just cut some pieces of plywood. Well, actually one was the perfect size, and then the other I just cut in half. And on top of these, we'll put a layer of plastic to keep the moisture from being absorbed by the floor. Here is the platform covered in 6mm plastic. No, sorry, 6 mil, not millimeter. It's a measurement of plastic thickness. The toughest that we could find at Home Depot. So, shrink wrapped, and that will keep everything underneath the styrofoam and everything nice and dry. This is the first and a half layers of insulated concrete forms down now. So we're not filling these with concrete. That's normally what you do when you build with these things, but we're just using them to build a quick structure and keeping them hollow and using them for their insulative value. So as you can see, you just kind of find the pieces you need. You gotta calculate these in advance, figure out which pieces. There's left hand and right hand corner pieces, and then there are these long, 4-foot long blocks. So you lay them down and you zip tie them together. See, between every couple blocks, you have these gigantic zip ties. Pretty big, come in big packages, and do it pretty tight, just to keep, because it keeps it really like the structure quite strong and solid. So you do that between every block. Sometimes you have to cut blocks to make the width you need. In our case, we have to cut the ones on the sides in half. Use half of it on this side, the other half on this side, because it's kind of short. And then when you put your next layer of blocks on, you have to also zip tie this layer to the layer below. So not only are you zip tying the blocks together where they meet on the side, but also up and down, just to, keep it all in one piece. And so then I'm going to continue on, and we'll make a hole for the air conditioner, which is going to keep this thing cool. Leaving an opening here also for the door, and I'll be making a door out of more styrofoam and plywood. So now I've stacked all the styrofoam blocks. I had to do a bunch of cutting to make the doorway, and also to make the hole for the air conditioner. And cutting styrofoam is no fun at all. I've kind of made a mess of our backyard. But then I learned that you can do it in the basement and then use a vacuum, and that's much better. But it's really, really a gross thing. So if you're ever cutting styrofoam, don't try not to do it outside, or if you are, don't do it on a windy day and collect all the little bits. So I created a approximately 6 foot high door, insulated door. And this is another kind of rigid insulation, which I think I showed before. And you can just basically create whatever you want out of it. I created both the door, it's R20, it's the 2 layers, and the door stop out of insulation, because I wanted to have a really, really good seal when the door is closed, which is actually might be overkill. The one in Nelson, my cooler Nelson, I just had a regular insulated door from the hardware store, and a regular door stop with one of those kind of seals around, and it worked great, but I really wanted to just, go the extra step. I had to create little mounts for the hinges out of wood, and you can't just screw directly into the styrofoam, so that's why I had to create these. There's only certain points in these blocks where you can actually screw into, and they're actually designated with little insets. Some of these blocks have little X's on those parts where you can screw in, and So I screwed the wood in here where there is little spots, and then I attached the hinges to the wood. Anytime I've had to attach something, I've made sure that it's screwed into one of these spots, and then I attached what I wanted to attach to the piece of wood. This is the CoolBot, which I'll talk about later when it's all plugged in, but that's basically what tricks the air conditioner into being a fridge. And here's the air conditioner with its front panel removed. This is how you're supposed to have it installed when you use the CoolBot. You don't have the panel on because it actually limits airflow, and it also limits access to the fins here and the thermostat for the air conditioner. These are all connected to the CoolBot, which I'll show you later when it's all turned on. And basically the air conditioner is sitting in a plywood kind of box that I created that's sitting on the styrofoam, and it's kind of zip tied in there, but you can install it however you want. My air conditioner Nelson was actually much larger and took the whole height of a block, if not a bit larger. And anyway, so it's all kind of nice and secure there. I'm going to be filling in the sides. You can see there's some gaps on the edges. You want to try to limit whatever airflow, any holes in your cooler. And as you can see, I've also been using this spray foam insulation kind of stuff that is filling in all the little holes. You always get cracks when you're putting these together. I'm going to cut these all off to make it nice and flush with the wall. And yeah, after that I'm going to be building the ceiling, and I'm going to seal all the rest of the cracks along the ceiling. So here's the finished walk-in cooler. Lots has changed since the last time I filmed this. We've got the roof on top of there, got siding on here, it's all painted, got the door latches, and of course the ceiling, the insulated ceiling, and we even have a new air conditioner, but I'll talk about that later. The ceiling is straightforward, just sheets of styrofoam, and whenever there's a crack you caulk the gap. I think the R value is 16 only because I couldn't get as much styrofoam sheets as I wanted from Home Depot at the time, but that's fine. It's R20 is your goal, but it's much more important to insulate the floor than the ceiling. The roof is corrugated PVC, sheets of corrugated PVC. They're $30 a sheet. I think it's 2 feet wide by 8 feet long, and so we used how many sheets? 6 sheets. And it's just mounted on top of kind of a wooden structure that I built. It's tapered, so there's a bit of a slope towards the back, and it's actually inspired by the same roof line or design that our chicken coop uses, as you can see over there. Keep everything the same. The styrofoam has sheets of plywood on top of it just to add some extra protection, because it does break down in the sunshine and it is sensitive to weather even though it's protected by a PVC roof. I cut away the plastic covering the floor because it turned out it wasn't actually keeping the water out. I guess little holes develop. It's just flexible plastic, so I thought that was going to damage the plywood over time, so I just cut it off, and I'm going to paint the floor now after doing some caulking around the edges and along the crack here. As you can see, this is not the same air conditioner that was here when I took my last video. I accidentally drilled into the compressor tubes of that one when I was putting the siding up on the back, and that was a very stupid mistake. So don't do that. try not to drill right into your air conditioner. This one I just purchased at Walmart for, it was 200 bucks. It's 5,000, 5,200, or no, it's actually 6,000 BTUs. I ended up getting one that was slightly more powerful than I needed. You can get an idea of what BTUs you need for the space that you're cooling from the CoolBot website, which I'll provide a link along with this video. So I've turned the cooler on, and it's been about 20 minutes. Let's see how cold it's gotten in there. It's at 4 degrees. Although it goes up pretty quick as soon as you open the door. So this is the CoolBot in operation. It's triggering the air conditioner to go on and off based on how cold it is in the cooler and also how cold the fins are. It doesn't. You have to basically set up the CoolBot appropriately based on trial and error for your situation. So we have the room setting set to 2 degrees and the fins are set to 1 degree. So that means as soon as it gets below 1 degree Celsius, the CoolBot will stop the compressor on the air conditioner by heating up its thermostat to trick it into thinking, or no, cooling off the thermostat to make it seem like it doesn't need to be on because it's cool in the room. That's what I figured out works for this situation. And 2 degrees for the room temperature is what the CoolBot's aiming for, and I find that it actually goes down to 1 or even 0 degrees if I leave it at 2, so I don't want to go anywhere below 2 degrees. And yeah, it doesn't take very long to cool the space, and that's partly because I have a 6,000 BTU air conditioner, which is a little bigger than I need for this little area, but it's actually quite a big space for me. We have lots of room here to put tons of bins if we need to, and we hardly use, I don't know, a quarter of it at the moment, so lots of potential. I also created these little latches, just kind of invented them to keep the door shut, so here, I'll show you. This keeps it open if I need it to be open. And so I just go over the door like that. It's a bit tight, but keeps it nice and sealed. The siding is just, it's homemade siding made out of thin plywood, the thinnest plywood you could find. We cut it into 1 foot wide strips and just screwed it into the side of the styrofoam and painted it. And that's probably cheaper than getting real siding. It doesn't really have to be, you know, super duper waterproof, because styrofoam is already waterproof and it won't go moldy, so I think we're pretty good here. We actually extended the roof over the edge of the walk-in cooler a few feet to create a little storage area here beside it for our tools and bins and that kind of thing. So you can do that if you want. And it's right beside our chicken coop, where you can see our little chickies are having a good time. So that completes the walk-in cooler building how-to. If you have any questions, post a comment below.